The night the world turned white, I realized how fragile life could be. The snow came down like a curtain, thick and furious, swallowing the road, the trees, and even the sound of the engine struggling beneath the hood. I had never felt so small against nature. And beside me, gripping the dashboard with trembling fingers, was the last person I ever expected to face a storm like this with, my best friend's mom, the woman I had known since childhood, who had once patched up my scraped knees and scolded me for eating too many cookies. But that night, she wasn't just Mrs. Kapoor. She was a breathing reminder that life can change direction in the span of a heartbeat. When the car finally skidded into a drift and the engine died, we were left in eerie silence broken only by the howling storm outside. She looked at me with a calmness that came from years of surviving life's battles, and she whispered the words that would anchor us through the cold: "We'll have to keep each other warm." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't romantic. It was survival, pure, simple, and terrifying. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of human connection, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. It truly helps the channel grow and keeps these stories alive. From the beginning, the trip had felt innocent, a simple drive to pick up my best friend Ariv's forgotten laptop from the cabin he used for studying during vacations. He couldn't leave work, so his mother, Meera Kapoor, volunteered, and I tagged along because I lived just 2 streets away and had nothing planned for the day. The weather reports hinted at light snowfall, nothing alarming. But mountains have a strange sense of humor, they change their moods without warning. By the time we reached the cabin, the light snow had turned heavy, and when we started heading back, the storm was already beginning to swallow the world. I should have been afraid earlier, but sometimes danger is quiet at first, creeping up gently until it's too late. The first time the car skidded, she didn't scream. She just sucked in a sharp breath and tightened her grip on the steering wheel. That was something I always admired about her, her ability to dive straight into chaos with silent strength. But the second time, when we hit a patch of invisible ice, nothing could stop the slide. The car spun, light as a leaf, and crashed sideways into a thick bank of snow. The headlights flickered, the engine coughed, and then everything died. No light. No heat. No signal on either of our phones. Just cold air creeping across our skin, tightening its fingers around us. We tried everything, opening the hood, restarting the ignition, even pushing the car a little, but the storm was too strong, the snow too deep, and the temperature dropping fast. Within minutes, my fingers were numb, my breath shaky. It was then she made the decision that probably saved us. She led me back inside the car, shut the doors tight, and pulled her coat closer. She spoke softly, just loud enough to be heard over the wind. She explained how hypothermia works, how body heat can be shared, how staying calm was our best weapon. She said it the way a doctor would say it, logical and necessary. Though she wasn't a doctor, she had just seen more winters than me. When we pressed our bodies closer under the single thick blanket from the trunk, it wasn't awkward. It wasn't strange. It was human. 2 people choosing to survive. She kept telling me to breathe steadily, to keep talking, to not let the cold quiet us. So we talked, not about the storm, but about life. And that is how the night transformed from something terrifying into something unforgettable. As hours passed, the storm continued its rage outside. The windows frosted over until we couldn't even see faint outlines of the world. I could hear the wind dragging tree branches, thumping them against the car. Sometimes the whole vehicle shook. And I would instinctively stiffen. She would feel it and gently nudge my shoulder with hers, grounding me. I had always known her as my friend's mother, a familiar figure, kind but distant in the way adults seem to children. But that night, I saw a different version of her, a woman with her own fears, her own stories, her own quiet resilience. She told me how life hadn't been easy, how she had spent years raising Ariv alone after his father passed away, how she worked 2 jobs before starting her small online craft business. She didn't say it with pride or sadness, she said it the way people speak about long journeys, tired, patient, and honest. She admitted she still worried constantly, even though Ariv was grown. And for the first time, she confessed that she often felt lonely in ways she couldn't explain to her own son. I listened, not out of obligation, but because the storm had peeled away the layers of formality that usually existed between us. In that cold, cramped car, we weren't a mother and her son's friend. We were two human beings clinging to warmth, physical and emotional, against a world that had turned harsh for a few endless hours. When the temperature inside the car reached near freezing, our bodies began shivering uncontrollably. She adjusted the blanket around us again and softly reminded me that staying awake was important. Sleep was dangerous. Sleep meant drifting toward coldness that didn't let you wake up. So we kept talking. I told her things I hadn't told anyone, my fear of failing my exams, my struggles after my dad lost his job, my guilt over not being able to help my family more. She didn't judge. She didn't offer unrealistic solutions. She just listened, which sometimes is the greatest warmth a person can offer. At one point, the storm grew loud enough to sound like thunder made of ice. The car rocked, and for a moment, the fear clenched my chest so tight I couldn't breathe. She sensed it immediately. She shifted slightly, placing her hand on the back of my shoulder, steadying my breath. She didn't say, "Don't be scared." She didn't say, "It'll be okay." She simply anchored me with her presence, letting me know I wasn't alone, a gesture small yet powerful enough to shatter the panic rising inside me. Hours slowly passed into something like dawn, though the storm still roared outside. The temperature continued to drop, and our breaths came out in visible puffs. Her voice grew softer, slower. I could tell she was fighting exhaustion too. At one point, she leaned her head lightly against mine, not out of affection but pure survival instinct, the human need to stay awake through shared warmth. The moment felt strangely comforting, as if the storm had brought us into a fragile but profound understanding of each other. Eventually, the storm weakened just enough for us to hear something faint, the distant hum of an engine. At first, I thought I imagined it. But when I lifted my head and wiped a small patch of the frosty glass, I saw faint red lights blinking through the curtain of snow. A rescue vehicle. The moment hit us both with overwhelming relief. When the rescuers finally reached us, wrapped us in thermal blankets, and pulled us into the warm truck, I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Not because of fear, but because we had survived something raw and brutal together. She stayed beside me even in the rescue truck, her hand resting lightly on my arm, a silent promise that the night's connection, whether spoken or unspoken, had left its mark. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't complicated. It was simply human, the kind of bond born only in moments when life strips everything down to its core. After the storm passed and we returned home, everything went back to normal on the surface. People asked questions, expressed shock, even sympathized. But only she and I truly understood what that night had been, a moment suspended in time, a reminder that sometimes the universe places two people in the same storm so they can save each other in ways they never expected. She smiled differently at me after that day, softer, knowing, grateful. And I felt differently too, stronger, more grounded, less afraid of life's unpredictable battles. We never spoke about the details of the night, but we carried it quietly, respectfully, like a secret lesson written in snow. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your support truly keeps stories like this alive and helps more people find them. Special request: before you leave, comment one line: kindness survives every storm.